I'm Daniel G. Garza, and this is another episode of Put It Together live stream. Welcome to the show. It is Saturday, November 30th, 2024, and we're live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. I almost forgot the intro. I hope you folks had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you had lots of food, all your friends and family, and enjoyed. We did. For those of you that watched this on Wednesday's show, episode of Christian and Daniel, we showed you the pies we had. We ate the pies. We want to thank, we went over to Northgate Markets here in Los Angeles. For those of you that know Northgate, we got our dinner at Northgate, which I'm going to be honest, it was about $90 for the whole dinner, and I was a little skeptical about it. I was like, really? Because they had tamales, they had turkey, they had ham, and we always do turkey. And it was delicious. It was a huge turkey, good enough for like 4 to 6 people. Plenty of mashed potatoes and gravy, which is one of my favorites. Their dressing, because I learned the difference between dressing and stuffing. But we had dressing. It was delicious. We almost fought for the last of it. And then instead of pie, they give you a pan de elote. So for those of you Latinos who know about pan de elote, for those of you who don't know, it's the Mexican or the Latino version of cornbread, which is so delicious. And we warm it up in the air fryer with a big ball of vanilla ice cream and some caramel. I tell you, there was a lot of sleeping, there was a lot of TV watching, and there was a lot of eating. All the way up to last night. Then for dinner last night, I was like, okay, I'm done. I was turkeyed out, and I had to we ordered a burger because I was like, okay, 3 days, 3 meals of turkey. I thought that was pretty much enough. This week's episode, I'm so happy to be back. We have some more episodes coming up through December and the holidays into January. We got some really cool guests. As y'all know, my schedule has changed slightly, so I'm not traveling on the weekends as much. So we'll be back on a more regular schedule on Saturday. So if you or somebody you know has a put it together story, send us a message, let us know. That's how we've gotten a lot of our guests by recommendations, saying, hey, I know somebody who would be awesome for your show. And we're always excited to have y'all on the show. On today's show, let me get my, give me 1 second. I already had it here. This is what happens when you wake up early and run late. Okay, today's show, we have David Martin from Dos Gabachos Mezcal. Let me tell you a little about it. I'm just gonna give you a little bit about their story. You can find this on the website, and we'll show the link in just a minute. Over a decade ago, 3 future friends met at a bar in downtown Los Angeles. David coming from Northern California, Richard from New York, and Victor from Mexico City. David and Richard were both mixologists working behind the bar to make a living along with doing professional photography. Victor, a bar patron, was doing international business between Los Angeles and Mexico City. Through the years, they became good friends and started traveling with Victor to Mexico City to learn and experience the culture. It was there where they first discovered mezcal and fell in love. Today, they continue their travels to Mexico and Oaxaca for further mezcal education and to bring their story to life through the lens of their camera. They promise to continue documenting their experience to reveal to you the captivating Mexican culture that they cherish and love. And with that, I'm going to let him fill in the rest of the story. We're going to the stage, Mr. David Martin. David Martin, buenos dias. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Daniel. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Happy belated Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy belated Thanksgiving. Thanks for having me on your show. Excuse my my voice. I've been a little under the weather this week, so.
Yeah, you were telling me we chatted a little bit right before Thanksgiving. Are you feeling a little better?
Feeling better today. Started feeling a little bit better yesterday. On Thanksgiving, I was in bed though. I was in bed. Yeah, I missed out on the family activities just because it was that bad. I was literally bed sick for 3 days with like the chills, body aches. Had like the flu really bad and a sinus infection.
Oh man! Well, thank you. I appreciate you making time to join us today. And
yeah,
I didn't get to tell them this before, but if you wanted to cancel, we totally understand. So I mean, I would have judged you silently, but I I would have
I didn't want
understood.
to cancel. I mean, if I was feeling like I was a couple of days ago, I probably would have had to cancel, but I'm feeling a lot better today.
And normally, what would you have done for Thanksgiving?
So just went over to my wife's my mother-in-law's house. So they went over there. Some family over there, just low key, some traditional Thanksgiving meal mixed with some Colombian food. My wife's Colombian,
Nice.
so
Okay.
yeah. So would have been like a fusion, and would have been some good mezcal cocktails.
Of course, of course.
Yeah,
So
I was
before
gonna make a
we,
cocktail. I was gonna make a cocktail and bring it over, but all that kind of got canceled. So
I'm sure they missed you with that one.
yeah.
um, Let me, before we start the show, just put on disclaimer. We will be talking about alcohol today. We want to make sure that everybody, because it's the holidays, please drink responsibly, drink in moderation, don't drink and drive. And if you feel you need help with alcohol, please call the SAMHSA National Hotline. That's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. And just so you know, but if you, I know most of you are thinking, because most of you know that I've been sober for over 17 years. So yes, if you are watching the show and you're probably wondering, why are you talking about mezcal? We'll get to that in a minute. But if you feel like you have a problem, have an issue, or you need somebody to talk to, please feel free to reach out to that number or give us a call here at the studio, and we will be happy to talk to you. With that said, I know most of you sometimes wonder, like, how do you meet your guests? Because we always talk about how I met my guests. Well, David Martin was posting, again, another thing that I do that most of you know is I run the Brand Ambassadors of Greater Los Angeles Area page. This is a page where promotions, side gigs, people post jobs, get jobs. And David was posting on our page, and we ended up chatting on Messenger. And I was like, what do you do? And he just told me what he does. I'm like, well, I don't drink, but when I did, mezcal was one of my favorite drinks. So, and then I learned that he was still relatively kind of new. And I was like, hey, I want to help you promote your business. So for those of you, this is how we met.
That's right.
So anything you want to add before we start?
Yeah, no, it's just you never know how you might meet somebody. So that was interesting how we met that day. Very cool, and here we are.
And for those, yeah, when I tell you, like, I randomly, meet people, and I'm like, hey, you should come on my show and talk about what you do. It does happen that way. I'm serious. It does happen that way. So without further, we might have, and let me just put this, because there we go. We're supposed to have Richard Policastro with us, who is your business partner.
Yes.
But he was called away for business. So if he makes it on, we'll jump him on the show. If not, Richard, we'll miss you here on the show, and we're going to talk about you after the show. So and be very judgmental. So just so you know, yeah.
I hope he makes it on, but we'll see if he can or if he can.
Cool. Well, let's get started. David Martin, tell us how you put it together.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks again for having me on the show here. So basically, I'm one of the owners of Dos Gabachos Mezcal. Trying to think where to start here. So I come from Northern California. I grew up there. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 27. I used to be in music. It's kind of what brought me here to LA. And always was working in hospitality, support myself. And I ended up opening the JW Marriott Ritz-Carlton bar in downtown Los Angeles at LA Live. That was in 2010. So it was brand new at the time. And that's where I met Richard. So Richard's the other Gabacho. So that's what makes Dos Gabachos, me and Richard. And we'll get into that. So Richard's from Syracuse. And so that's how we met. 2010, so a man named Victor used to come into the bar, and he would come in quite often, started becoming friends with him. I don't know if you've ever worked behind a bar in hospitality. That's one of the beauty of the business is the social aspect of it. You meet a lot of people, make a lot of friends, make a lot of business relationships. All kinds of things could happen when you're working behind a bar. So yeah, Victor would come in and just kind of became close. At the time, I was actually still doing music. He would even come see my shows and just kind of start becoming friends. And then I started learning more about him, and he's from Mexico City, and he lives in LA, but he still had house in Mexico City, family there, and he had a business there. So he was always going back and forth to Mexico City, like very often, 2 to 3 times a month. So finally one day he was like, hey, you want to go to Mexico City? So I was like, yeah, I want to go there. So I started going to Mexico City with Victor. He started showing me his city. Just really fell in love. Right from the beginning, Mexico City is amazing. Beautiful city, great people, food. I mean, it's very exciting. And I started going there, and then me and Richard started going there. And I don't know if it was the first trip, the second trip. He had a buddy who started bringing mezcal from Oaxaca. So at the time, this is now we're probably talking like 2013, 2014. The mezcal scene hadn't really hit here. It was around because like brands like Del Maguey. I know he the owner of Del Maguey, Ron Cooper, I believe. he's like the father of like bringing mezcal to the States.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I didn't know much about it. We had like one like reposado mezcal at our bar, and I don't even know if that was during that time. But anyway, so his friend, he would come from Oaxaca, and he'd bring mezcal in these like 2 liters of Coca-Cola, Sprite bottles, milk jugs, whatever he had. And, and he was like, this is mezcal. This is from Oaxaca. Have you had this? We were like, no. So, and he was telling us this is Espadín, and this is Tepextate, and this is Tobala, and he's teaching us like these are these different agaves, but it's all mezcal. So we're starting to drink it in Mexico City, and we're like, man, this is really good stuff. Like, this is amazing, and just became really intrigued by it. So we'd come back to the States, and we're like kind of really captivated by it. We'd kind of talk, and and then we'd go back to Mexico City with Victor, keep having this mezcal, drinking some pulque out there, and that's what it really started to. That was the magic that kind of got us. I just really fell in love with mezcal, the taste of mezcal. And I think just starting to fall in love with Mexico City, and then starting to learn about Oaxaca from his friend. And that's what prompted us to started, hey, we need to go to Oaxaca. Let's go to Oaxaca and start tasting more mezcals and finding out about mezcal.
Interesting.
And, so that's kind of how that happened. And then we come back to the States, and that's when I came to work one day behind the bar. I said, hey, Richard, I got this idea. What if you think those mezcals that we're tasting, what if we try to bring one of our own here? Because they didn't like what we had tasted out there. From what we knew, nobody had ever tasted here. And we wanted to bring what we found here so people can taste and experience what we experienced.
Interesting. By the way, I'm taking notes as we're speaking. It's always interesting because I was born in Mexico, went to school in Mexico, had mezcal. My dad used to bring me mezcal when I lived in Dallas. As I got older, folks, he would bring me mezcal, and I'm only because I don't drink anymore, but I was a big fan of mezcales, and he would bring me different flavors. And growing up, because in a lot of parts of Mexico, mezcal is not considered a top choice liquor. It's something you drink in los ranchos and the farms, and it's not a top shelf drink that you would ask for. But it's interesting to me that two white boys from California, you know what I mean? It's like sometimes it takes an outsider to really appreciate a different culture. Does that make sense?
Yes. I will say this. And this is and I don't, this is not to not disrespect or come across the wrong way. And I don't know what you've had in the past or what you, even if you're from Mexico, what I've noticed, here's where I'm going with this. When I drink in mezcals, and I've drinking a lot of mezcals, I had some really bad mezcals in Mexico. The worst ones that I've had.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed, so I'm going with this is like, depending on what kind of mezcal that maybe you have had or haven't had could really dictate maybe how you feel about it.
Yeah,
You know,
and I think that's.
I'm not saying you, like, I mean, like the app, just who.
Yeah, the general public view.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because my dad, like I said, when I lived in Dallas, when I was in my 20s, my dad was in Mexico, in Monterrey, outside of Monterrey, and he would bring me bottles of mezcal for me. And there were some that he was like, my compadre made this, and you're like, okay, like let's see what this is like. And you're like, oh, but you're like, we were in our 20s and we were broke, so it was good.
Yeah,
but then
absolutely.
as my dad was like, oh, you're understanding what mezcal is, he would bring me some really good, like that, very like comparable to like some of the finest tequilas, and you'd be like, wow, this is kind of smooth and nice. So yes, for the folks out there, you might think mezcal is just mezcal, but no, there's a variety of flavors and strengths and colors and smells. Anyway, just so you know. So, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you hit it on the head. I mean, it's, I know it has the history and the reputation of being this kind of this crummy spirit, or this, second to tequila, or just, like you said, I've heard, terms like, for people that don't have a lot of money, or, or for lower class, or, I've heard all these things, and it's just interesting. I don't know if some of that is because wherever that the reason is, however that came about, I just know that not all mezcals are made the same. And when you get to drink really good mezcal, nobody can't tell me any different, that it's not right there with the best of any spirit that's out there. It really is. But if you get some really crummy made mezcal, and there's a lot of reasons why for that, we could talk about that. Then yeah, it could be really bad.
Yeah. And for those of you that probably look into the history books, you might think, yeah, it was during the revolution that a lot of the mezcal was passed around, because it was easier to produce, it was more convenient, and it wasn't the alcohol that everybody was used to. And then during Prohibition in Mexico, it was very popular because a lot of the other alcohols weren't available. So just for but go Google the history of mezcal. It's really fascinating. So you and Richard go down with Victor. You're tasting the mezcales. Can you tell us about the moment when the light bulb goes off and you're like, Richard, this is a business deal. Like, we can do something with this.
I think I think the light already had gone on before we started going to Oaxaca. I think the light bulb went on in Mexico City. And that's what prompted us to go to Oaxaca, I would say to further to see how bright that light was. And I think it was, the first trip we knew that light was bright. I think, like, speaking for myself, I just really connected with, I think it was the whole, just everything, just going to Mexico, to Oaxaca, spending time there with the people. I just fell in love with the mezcal, and then just really seeing the process, how it's made. There's an art to it that, and I think unless you're there and actually see it, it's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah.
Sometimes people ask me, like, why mezcal? Like they don't get it, or they don't understand, and I try to explain the best I can. Some things that you can't be explained, and I think it's just being there and just being having this connection with the people.
Yeah,
and just seeing how the whole process, and just having a respect for just all of it, And I think that I was looking for something that I could get behind. I always wanted to have my own business and do something, like push myself in the entrepreneurial way and have something. And I think that was my calling.
Gotcha. So now that we're talking about the business side of it, tell us about those. First of all, just to clarify, what year are we talking this again?
I'm sorry.
What year are we talking about this
Oh,
again?
no, when we made the LLC was 2017. When we actually said, let's actually let's do, like, when we put the business on a piece of paper and actually got that part started, literally, you know. But so that was when the paper started of the business, but it was all the traveling beforehand and the tasting and learning, and that actually got us to get to 2017.
Because I tell people, we're talking about the business side of this. A business doesn't start when the business starts, like when the paperwork says you start. Because like my business says that I started in March of 2020. And I'm like, yeah, can we add those 10 years prior that I was like hustling and doing all these other things?
Yeah, that
so
doesn't count my prior, I've had prior things that I tried before that didn't necessarily go the greatest, but
yeah, when people say, wow, you all this overnight, and you're like, yeah, overnight for like the last 10 years.
Yeah,
so
seriously.
Let's go back to those beginning of the business. This question always makes you laugh to ask, but I always ask it. Did everything go smoothly there, David?
No, it still doesn't. Excuse me. Well, I'll say this. It's not that everything didn't go smoothly, but we probably didn't really know what we were doing, to be honest with you. We just I think that this was all built off passion and just finding something that we all like connected with, and saw that there was an opportunity to bring it to the States. And given that me and Richard were in hospitality together behind the bar for 10 years, we kind of had amassed a decent network. So it was a combination of the passion definitely was the top thing. And then also seeing like, hey, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can bring it here to LA. And given some of our background, maybe we can, I think, because we hadn't tried something that was so good. So yeah, we're going to share this. People are going to love it. And then they're going to want it. That was kind of the idea. But we didn't have like somebody holding our hand that had done this before. It didn't have like a real mentor that is in the sense of that has done this business. Richard and Victor are business owners and businessmen in their own right. So I don't mean in that sense, like when I say mentor, I mean just more like, like somebody that has already done this kind of a business. And we really had to learn it all from scratch.
Yeah.
And just had to start digging into, well, what do you do to start this business? And just kind of had to go from there.
Yeah, because one thing is to start a business per se in your city. You're like, okay, I'm going to start a little business. I'm going to do this. Cool. Another thing is to say, well, okay, I'm going to start a national business and everything that comes with it. But you were like, no, let's just go international. Let's just.
Well, I mean, so I know it is technically an international business, but there's like they say, there's levels to this. Okay. There's many levels to this. So we haven't climbed the ladder per se. We're making our steps. On our website, like we do, we can ship direct internationally to someone's home, to certain countries. But at this point, that's a very little of our business. We're not really focused on that. It's kind of there. And then also we are in some other states, but we're really focused right now. Our main focus is SoCal.
Yeah.
So
what I mean is, like I've had guests who do coffee. I've had guests who do other kind of food. And like they're like, well, let's go to another country and bring back. That's what I mean by the international part is like.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see.
Yeah, and yes, well, I'm gonna use that as a few like an intuitive idea of you're gonna go international.
I see what you're saying.
But you like for instance, my business is social media. It's live. Like I can do it here and I can go anywhere. But you guys decided, let's go to Mexico and then try to import stuff and then try to start a business. Like, it wasn't like you're going to the backyard and like creating the mezcal. Like, you're traveling. Like, it's not just the regular business trials and tribulations. Like, I see y'all having like triple what most of us have to deal with on a regular day.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that. Well, I guess two things. One, just speaking for myself, I've always have. I mean, this might sound really corny, but like I've always followed my dream. It might sound really cliche, but that's what got me to LA. I used to be in music, and that leaving Northern California to Southern California, that's really like two different worlds. It really is, even though we're in the same state. So me leaving NorCal to move to SoCal, that was like a huge deal for me. And people like in my town that I grew up in, generally speaking, like don't really do stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So that was like when I came to LA, I was like, wow,
like, hey, somebody's just popped in, by the way. Let me, before you continue. Yes, continue. Keep talking. There you go. Hey, Richard.
Hey, how's it going?
We're doing good. Go ahead and finish. Yeah. So moving from Northern California to Southern California.
What's up, Richard?
What's up? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
We can hear you, yes. We were about to talk nasty about you, but you just came at the right moment. So
that's timing is perfect.
But finish your story, David. You were going from North California to Southern California?
Yeah, so that was like it was just I did that because I was like, like I said, like following my dream. So I think that when we found mezcal, it wasn't like there wasn't a question, like we didn't really question like the international border. Part of that too is one of our third partner is from Mexico City, and he's a Mexican citizen. So there was a lot of strength there. But I think that we fell so much in love with the mezcal that it was like, this is it. And there wasn't much else to think about. Like we didn't really question like having to go to another country and all these things that like we weren't going to let that stop us. That wasn't even in our forefront at all.
So for all you folks watching us, we are speaking with David Martin and Richard Policastro from Dos Gabachos Mezcal. Richard just joined us, and that perfect timing too. We were talking about how y'all met, how you came together, but let's hear it from your side, Richard. How was it meeting David, and then when this idea popped up, meeting Victor, and just take us how you put it all together.
Yeah, so I'm originally from New York. I moved out to California, just kind of chasing the sunshine. I was sick of the winters. I started bartending at the JW Marriott in LA Live. I'm sure you heard that one from David as well, and that's actually where we met. Victor was a guest that would always come in, and we became friends with him over the years, and he invited us on a trip to Mexico City, and we took him up on it, and it was our first time there, and we just fell in love with it. I mean, we fell in love with the culture, the food, especially the mezcal. At that time, there weren't many mezcals out in the States. We're talking about 8-9 years ago, as there are now. Obviously, that now the market is a lot more saturated with some amazing mezcals. But back then, there really wasn't much. It was like Del Maguey, it was that was pretty much it. That was on the scene. And, so when we were in Mexico City and we tasted, some of these mezcals for the first time, we were like, this is amazing. Like, this is night and day compared to what we could get in the States, and then we came back from that trip, and it was actually, I always pay homage to David. It was his idea, who said, he was like, well, what do you think about, trying to bring something like that back to the States, something that really represents us, that we would love to drink there and, have it here in the States. And I immediately was like, that would be amazing. So that's kind of what started the journey, was that trip to Mexico City. And then from there, it just followed up with a lot of trips to Oaxaca, not knowing much. I mean, we were just students of the game. I mean, we kind of nerded out on mezcal. We just went there and started asking around where do we go to find mezcal, show us some different palenques. We started meeting people. We just started networking, and which brought us to Abel Martinez, who is our mezcalero now. And the juice that he had, the mezcal that he had, was just absolutely amazing. So we loved it. And that's kind of the fast version. I'm sure David touched on a lot of that as well, but from my eyes, that's pretty much how we got to where we are.
That's pretty cool. Before we continue, we're halfway through the show, folks. Let me just put up the disclaimer again for those of you that are joining us. Remember to drink responsibly, drink in moderation, don't drink and drive. And if you need any help, call 1-800-662-HELP if you need anything. So we were talking about business, like the real business side of it, because folks always see the pretty side of business once we put everything together. Once you took a shower and ate something and people get to see you. But the behind the scenes of getting a business up and running, is there anything now, looking back, that you would have done different?
I mean, I'll start, and David, he'll definitely jump in on it. I would just say I think it's just like any other business. I mean, I think, there's always going to be bumps in the road. I think that it's a learning lesson from day one. I mean, I don't think you ever go into having your own business, no matter what it is, having a perfect paved road for it, and knowing exactly what you're supposed to do, especially in an industry that we have never been involved in. So I think there are some things that we could, we would go back and probably look at it differently. And it still is happening. I mean, there's still things that we're learning for the first time, and, you learn from that and you move forward. And, I think those things make you stronger as a team, make you stronger as a business, and make you grow, better.
Gotcha. David?
I think this is like one of those businesses where I could look back and say, I could have done maybe a little bit more research, but then it's so easy to say, because I think sometimes you can say that, but then you could also then maybe talk yourself out of things, maybe for the good or for the bad or for the worse, right? Maybe it could have been a good decision or a bad decision. But I think that we've kind of had to learn through this journey by just doing it. And I don't think that nobody could have taught us what we've learned by the way that we've done it. Nobody could have taught us it. Like, we've had to go through like Richard said, the bumps on the road to kind of learn what we've learned. And we've learned so much. The only other way that you can probably get the information that we've gotten is by you maybe had to pay somebody a lot of money, a lot of consultants, a lot of money to get the kind of information that so rather than doing that, we learned it ourselves. So yeah, there's been some bumps on the road. Some it's probably taken us a little bit longer than we had hoped, but at the same time, we feel like we have so much valuable information now that nobody could have taught us this.
And I think by doing it that way too, it's a little bit more rewarding on the back end. Like, you have those scars, it kind of reminds you of like what you've gone through, what to change, what to do better. And it just, the fact that we did it ourselves and went through it and learned it, I feel like it's more rewarding than to have somebody just say, this is what you're supposed to do each step. I know I speak for David too. I think it's just like, for us, it feels better to be able to, learn these mistakes the hard way. I know that sounds probably crazy, but it's the truth. No.
We'll talk about this off camera, but I very much believe in trusting your gut and your intuition about things. There are things that you can learn, and I come from a business background, and there are things that I learned in business school, but then once you're on the real world, you gotta trust your gut and you gotta trust your instinct. As David was talking earlier, I wrote down, your future is passion plus opportunity, and that's how really I know how my future has been that way. Does that make sense? Like, trusting your gut, following your passion, and seeing the opportunity where it is, and going, that's the road I gotta go on. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. We both believe that.
The house that we're building, the cement that it sits on is passion. Absolutely.
Yeah, the foundation is passion for sure.
Because if it wasn't that, it's hard to, if you don't have the passion and the love for it, I don't think it lasts,
Yeah. By the way, for everybody watching, if you're watching this live, feel free to ask or comment any questions. I'll make sure to get them. If you're watching this on replay, please still ask your question, make your comments, and I'll make sure I get them to David and Richard. We want you to, if you want to talk about business, if you want to talk about liquor, if you want to talk about following your passion, please post your questions or comments. Let me show some pictures because David sent me some pictures and I want you to like kind of tell me about them. What are we looking at here?
Well, the first two are in Oaxaca, in Santo Domingo, Alboradas. That was us, kind of building the pit and cutting up the agave and, standing on top of the agave mountain. And just holding agaves. You got the smoke in the background in the middle picture. That's from the oven, the underground oven. The horno is kind of heating up and getting the smoke going. And then the one all the way to the right, that was actually our first batch that came through, and we rented a U-Haul truck and drove all the way down to the border and picked it up ourselves. So that day was probably, there's probably like 3 days when we get like, choked up with like happy tears. And, the first day I think was probably when we first tasted our mezcal, saw the bottle, actually like held it. But this was definitely one day we were really excited about. I mean, just picking up our own batch, seeing the boxes, having the fork truck come out with it on like pallets and putting it in. We actually hired one of our friends to do a whole video, like the whole trip down, back, the whole thing. It's on our Instagram. So that was a really special day for us that we'll never forget. So
for those of you watching, obviously when I posted the pictures, you can't see their faces, but from this side, I can see their faces. Let me tell you, there was a huge smile that came up on David and Richard's face when they saw those pictures.
Excuse me.
What? These questions always sound dumb because I have my own business and I remember the first time seeing things. But how do you feel right now? Not necessarily speaking to me, but speaking about your business.
Yeah, we feel great. We feel like we've moved mountains since we started. Got a lot more mountains to move. We've came quite a long way. We got a nice buzz going here in SoCal. Most importantly, people are loving the mezcal. Also in New York, where Richard's from, we got a nice buzz going over there. So doing really well. Richard, I don't know if you want to chime in.
Yeah, I think it's it's like it's just we got great momentum right now. There's light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's just the beginning. We're just scratching the surface. I think for me, and I can speak for David as well, us being in the industry as far as being mixologists, when we first started this, working for the JW and the Ritz-Carlton, we met a lot of people. Our networking was strong, and we knew that once we had a product, we had met a lot of people that were going to give us an opportunity. We like maybe had moved to other restaurants and bars, and we had a list of people we were going to reach out to, which we did. We reached out to those people, and a lot of them gave us a shot and brought it in. I think what is so gratifying to us is not only the fact that people gave us a shot and brought it in, but it was when those people called us a second time to reorder. And that was a special feeling, because anybody who knows you is going to give you a chance. They're going to be like, all right, I'll buy a case. They're going to buy a case, but that doesn't mean you're successful. That doesn't mean you made it, But when those same people call you up and say, hey, our guests really loved it. These cocktails are amazing. This is some really good mezcal. Let's order another case. Let's order 2 cases. Let's order 10 cases, whatever it may be. When the reorders come in, that's when you have something special.
Cool. And we have a question here on the floor for you guys. Is networking a natural talent for you guys, or did you have to acquire the skill?
I think for me, I would say if it was acquired, it was just because my whole life I've had a job since I was 12, paperboy, been in the hospitality industry since I was 23, I had a bunch of jobs before that. So I think it's a natural, just naturally comes easy for me. But I think it's because I was always in the public since a young age.
Yeah, I would say exactly the same. I think, I think for David and I mean, I think it came very naturally to both of us. I mean, we both have, on the side, we both have photography businesses that, help put food on the table. That's while everything we make from the mezcal goes back into the business. So, and a lot of our photography we use with the mezcal and kind of, show our behind the scenes, like through our lens. But, even with our photography businesses, you have to network as well. I mean, I moved out to LA 16 years ago and I was just bartending. I didn't really know what to do. So it's all about relationships. It's about building those relationships, about meeting new people, networking, and, kind of piggybacking off of that. So I think it, for both of us, I think it's something that just comes naturally to us for sure.
Yeah. Being behind a bar makes you social.
Yeah. I bartended in my 20s and back in South Texas, and a lot of the connections that I had for work then came from there. Some of them are still friends to this day, 30 some years later. So I understand. I have this other photo. Who are those sexy fools right there?
Wow.
What's going on? Look at that.
Wow.
Tell us about this picture.
Yeah. So we were in downtown LA at night, having some fun, doing a video shoot with the bottle. And yeah, just having a good time.
I think this picture, I mean, I think a lot of our photos kind of showed, different angles of how the mezcal can be consumed and how it can be portrayed. I mean, a lot of it is us in Oaxaca wearing hats, boots, being dirty, showing the grittiness, the earth, the dirt, just the organic side of mezcal, sipping it neat, stuff like that. But, there's so much to mezcal that can be offered up in nice lounges in New York City and LA and Hollywood and Beverly Hills. And, it can touch a different demographic of people, that have been very successful in life and want to taste something on their palate that's refined and complex. And I think we wanted to show both sides of that. We wanted to show, the grittiness and, the organic side in Oaxaca, but then also show that, some people can suit up and, look good and, kind of, sip it neat or in a nice cocktail and, go from there. So it can really be enjoyed many ways. And that's kind of what we wanted to show. That was the goal there.
Mi gente, para que sepan, so mezcal can be sexy too, just so you know.
Well, and kind of earlier, Richard, before you hopped in, Daniel had brought up, how mezcal, the old, how it's been labeled in the past, that it's, what'd you say, Daniel, earlier in the show?
Yeah, so growing up, it was like the rancho. It was the ranchero.
Right.
It was like we drank it, when there was nothing else around. But right. I was fortunate enough that one of the things that my dad taught me was like how to appreciate mezcal for what it was. And I've had some really good mezcal in my lifetime, and I've had some really give me some gasoline.
Yeah, I guess where I was trying to say is not is here we've heard people tell us like, oh, mezcal was known as like a poor man's spirit.
Yeah, it's a working man's drink. Yeah.
Well, we're trying to show, wait a minute, this mezcal is amazing when it's made right, and we're trying to not shake anything about ranchero or anything like that, just to show that no, this is an amazing spirit. This is right there with the best of the cognac sippers, or the best of the tequila sippers, or the best of the rum sippers, or the scotch. Like, this is right there or better.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to show that picture of you guys. Let me just show it again, because I really like that photo. I was like, hey, there's a very elegant side to mezcal. And we're not a political show, y'all folks know, but to bring something from Mexico that for a long time was belittled, and to put it on that same level as other drinks, other imported drinks, and go, give it a try. You might just surprise yourself. I think that's one of the first things. Well, first of all, I'm Mexicano, and I was like, What do these two? Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what do these two gringos know about mezcal? I didn't put them on the show. Let me put them to the test. But then, as I went in and investigated, which I'm gonna bring up the website so you can copy on it. But as I was looking through the website and looking at your story, and I was preparing for this interview, I was like, wow, these guys really did their homework, and it's so beautiful as a Mexicano to see people embrace the culture and go, hey, I'm not appropriating it. I'm not trying to take over it. I'm just highlighting some things that people don't know. And that is a beautiful thing to do. I think that's amazing. So let me bring up the website real quick so you can tell us what your website, because it's really slick. I'm going to.
Appreciate that, Dave.
Yeah, thank you.
So what do we got here?
So that's me, Richard, and Victor. So we touched on Victor a little bit. Yeah, so he's our third partner. He's kind of, if there's no Victor, there's probably no us, because he's the one that, brought us to Mexico. And but yeah, so he's a Mexican citizen. So we are technically American Mexican owned brand. We're all equal, share partners.
There is your where to buy stuff.
So we got Buy Mezcal. There we got an apparel page where you can get some mezcal, some Dos Gabachos gear. On that same link, there's where you can get the bottle up, and everything's out of stock right now because our page right now we're having an
everybody loves it. Everybody loves it. Buying it up. It's the holidays, Daniel. Everybody wants.
Hey, I'm gonna put myself in line for one of these T-shirts. I'm a T-shirt collector, so
yeah, we'll have it restocked.
We're going through a little change right now with some of our website stuff, so that should be fixed here soon. But the bottle is not out of stock.
Who came up with the logo for your bottle?
So go ahead, Richard.
It was kind of a collaborative effort. I mean, it was we have a lady that does, she helps us with a lot of the design. Her name is Maria, and she helps us. She kind of, as far as the logo, she sent us over some options, but we kind of told her what we wanted. And Daniel, I'm sure you could kind of see with the agave, but if there's a lightning bolt down the middle that makes up the agave. So there's like an old like folk tale where like back in the day, the lightning bolt came down, struck the agave, and like spilled, the mezcal spilled out everybody. That's how it got the smoky taste, and all the villagers, got their cups out and sipped it from that. So we wanted to incorporate the lightning bolt into the agave. Some people recognize it, some people don't. So we're throwing it out there, but yeah, that's kind of where we got the idea. We wanted to kind of, incorporate that lightning bolt into the agave, and that's how we got it. And we fell in love with it. The second she showed us, we were like, this is it. We loved it. So.
Okay, we have another question on the board for you. I'm going to remove this. It says, I know technically all tequila is mezcal, but do you feel the celebrity sponsored or owned tequila compete with your mezcal? For example, Dwayne Johnson's Terramana.
So let me understand this correctly here. Do you feel that these celebrity sponsored or owned tequilas compete? I mean, if I'm just going to speak from my heart, no, and I'm going to tell you why, because I don't think that the quality is there as ours, period. I'll leave it at that.
I think Terramana, I think the rocks, Dwayne John, I mean, that's also a tequila. I mean, I guess you could use maybe like Dos Hombres, which is a mezcal, which is celebrity-owned mezcal. But, like you said, we're not out here to, we're not out here to brand bash by any means. It's just, it comes down to quality. And I think a lot of these celebrity-owned brands, they kind of just put out, whatever. For example, like Dos Hombres, they don't pay homage to their mezcalero. They don't have a specific mezcalero that they say this man put in the work. He has done this, and that's, this is where it comes from. It's more about them on the brand than where it actually comes from. Where us, you look on our bottle, we pay homage to Abel Martinez or any of the mezcaleros we work with, and we want people to know that they're the mastermind behind this. It's, we're just deciding to go with it, and we're the ones bringing it over, but they're they're the ones that are putting the hard, the blood, sweat, and tears into this that we've experienced. And I think it's necessary to do it. So for us, the celebrity is the Mescalero. I mean, it's us. We're Dos Gabachos. We're the face of the brand. But at the end of the day, like a lot of these celebrity brands, a lot of them don't really pay homage to the people behind it. It's more about them. That's just my take,
Gotcha.
Yeah. The question was a tequila. Yeah. So I was just speaking in general, celebrity brands, tequila or mezcal. But yeah, tequila, mezcal, two different things. But yeah, pretty much everything Richard just said. I mean, I don't think I'm speaking in, I'm just speaking general, not here to bash anyone. And I'm not going to sit here and say a celebrity couldn't be passionate about a spirit and get behind it. But I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of it for these people is just business. And I don't know how much personal connection goes into it, and hey, this is business for us too. But I just think it's a little bit different.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say, I think, I could be wrong, but I mean, in our experiences, I feel like, a lot of these celebrities, they're like, okay, what do I want to invest some money into? What's out there? What's hot? What's new? And, they have their million followers on a brand, within a day. And, it's all because of that. I mean, how much passion is really there, I mean, I will say this. I will say when George Clooney first came out with Casamigos, you could actually see some passion there. I mean, there was actually interviews and he actually knew what he was talking about and really loved tequila. And, he was really about it. And you could see that. And I liked that. And I did drink it then because I thought it was good. And I thought it wasn't just him slapping a name on there and that, that's it, but, ever since they sold it and then, you taste it, it tastes a little bit different. And you just see some of these other celebrities where are they really showing themselves, really showing the passion for these, spirits than, minus just a glorified, photo shoot in the middle of an agave field,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, you'll notice on our bottle, it has our Mescalero, where it's from, batch number, all the details that you're not going to find on in these commercial brands.
And for any celebrity who happens to be watching the show, if you want to come and talk about your product, come over and talk about it, and we'll look into it. But
we're not paid actors. We're not paid actors.
These are real people, folks. I found them on the street. I know who. By the way, and kind of the connection to this, there is a documentary. Jaime Camil, actor, did a documentary, a 4-part series on different products for the Roku channel. I'm going to promote the Roku channel. And there is a voice description narration that comes with it for people who are visually impaired. And I did the narration for that show. So part of I do voice. Yeah, I do voiceover shoot. Nice. Yeah, so if y'all go to Roku and look for the agave episode, all 4 episodes, the voice in the background is me, so you can look for my voice. So,
love that.
See, I'm 1 degree away from you guys. We have another question before we. Have you established a network of bars, both local and high-end, to supply? If yes, how did you secure those clients when your brand was not quite established yet? And I think we talked about that a little bit, but go ahead and answer that.
Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit. I mean, a lot of it came from, our networking, from just being in the industry, being mixologists for so long. When you're a mixologist at a JW Marriott Ritz-Carlton, you see a lot of managers go through there. You see a lot of people go through there that end up going somewhere else. And, it kind of spread out over, we were there for 10 years over that amount of time. And we networked a lot. So, yeah, we did touch on that a little bit. But yeah, our bars, we have a pretty decent amount of bars, hotels, restaurants. Our big client is Total Wine and More. I mean, we're in 16 locations throughout SoCal at Total Wine. So, and we do a lot of dry demos there. We go there, we talk about it. We do a lot of pop-ups. David and I, our motto is always, like one person at a time. If we can just have a conversation with somebody for 5 minutes about our brand and about mezcal and what it is, and educate them a little bit, I think it goes, pretty far. So, yeah.
Yeah. To piggyback on that, we've done everything from our personal network. We've cold walk-ins. Sometimes me and Richard will pick a day. we'll pick a zone, and we'll just cold walk into spots and try to get to a manager, get to somebody, speak to somebody, and get told no a lot. Got yeses right on the spot. Had a lot of come back and got to talk to this person. So, and we've got some really great accounts like that, you know, some social media, some emailing, a little bit of everything. But
gotta put on those friendships too sometimes. We're like, hey, remember me?
You know? And then even when you get the accounts, you gotta, you can't just, you don't just get the account and then say, okay, see you later. Let us know when you want to, order again. I mean, it's a lot of, with our mixology background, a lot of like, okay, do you need any ideas for some new cocktails on your menu? Do you want us to help you with like a cocktail of the month? Do you want us to come up with something specific to your restaurant or your bar? Do you want us to come in and speak to your employees and let them know what our brand is about? Because one of the things we learned when we were at the JW, the Marriott was great about bringing in reps and owners of brands to let them explain what their brand was about. And then therefore it would get us excited about it. And then you would see more sales behind the bar. I'll never forget when I was bartending, they had a rep come in for Templeton Rye. And they came in and they told the story about how it was Al Capone's favorite rye and then where it came from and how it was made. And it just resonated with me. And I remember that night I went back behind the bar and this guy came in from Chicago. He was traveling and he was looking for a Manhattan. And he goes, do you recommend anything? And I was like, yeah, you should try this Templeton Rye. And I had the little backstory behind it. And he was sold and he loved it. And I loved it too. So we look at it now from that side of it. Like the more we can educate a lot of the people, the bar sits on the shelf and the customer comes in. Who's in between that? The servers and the bartenders, so they have to really want to sell your product. They have to be excited about it. So a lot of times when we get into a new restaurant or a bar, we'll say, we would love to come into your next, meeting, your monthly meeting. Just can we borrow 15 minutes? We'll come in, we'll talk about our brand, let everybody try it, get them excited about it, maybe offer an incentive program or something like that. And then, we just, we keep on them and just, touch base, touch in every once in a while, see how it's going. Make them feel special, make them feel like we care, because we do. It's not just, we want them to enjoy it. We want them to continue to buy it. So.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really last comment here is, man, if I could drink alcohol, I would definitely want to try your mezcal. Well, I think you just sold one there. Awesome. Go ahead, David. I'll show you. Good job.
I was just going to say, it's really a personality business. You walk in, we go into so many places and get some people that they love to hear the story. They're super intrigued because they care about quality spirits. Other people could care less. They're grumpy, they don't want to hear from you. So it's not for the faint hearted. That's this, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So we're almost at the last, but I don't want to pass on this part of the show. We call it the words of wisdom. So what words of wisdom do you have for the people watching? It could be about business, it could be about mezcal, it could be about you.
I would just say, stay hungry and motivated, just to have a drive, to have a goal, to have a dream. I mean, we look at this as like, this is our dream. This is our baby, So, I know it's kind of cliche, but it's like, never give up, really look, for that light at the end of the tunnel and just drive and just keep pushing forward. And I believe, just what we've accomplished so far is beyond what I thought we could do from the beginning. So I think it's just, stay hungry, and just, always just kind of go towards your goal and try to, accomplish your dream.
I dig that. David?
Yeah. I think really is really follow what you want to like enjoy what do you want to enjoy with your life? Like, what is it that you would actually love to do and actually do that? I know that might sound kind of cliche, and that doesn't mean that you have to quit your day job. Like, you might have to keep your day job in pursuing what it is that you want to do or that you love to do. But I think that it's possible. Anything is possible, but you have to be hungry, like Richard said, and you have to stay persistent, and you can't listen to people, because if you listen to everybody else, they'll talk you right out of it. But hey, again, not to sound cheesy, but one life to live. You want to, you get one life, you get one shot. And one day you might look back and you want to have as little regret as possible. So even if it means, hey, I got to work, but I'm going to start this on the side and I'm going to start chipping away. But only you know how hard or how much, everybody has a different threshold. Like, working out one day a week may sound like a lot for somebody, and working out 7 days a week might sound like a lot for somebody. So it's all about what's your threshold of hard work, and I think being patient. You got to be I think we overlook patience as actually like a skill, and it's a huge skill, something I've lacked probably my whole life. I wish I had more of when I was younger. But I think it's really true, persistence and patience, and go for what you want to do. Don't settle for less.
Excellent. So for those of you watching, you are seeing on your screen all the links. This is their website link, so go check them out at dosgabachos.com, on Facebook as Dos Gabachos Mezcal, and same for Instagram, Dos Gabachos Mezcal. Make sure you check them out. I lost track of what I was thinking. Listening to what you talk is what I tell I do life coaching and spiritual coaching. What I tell my clients is, like, when you're going after your dream, do you want to do a job, or you want to do your life work? And that lights the difference. And I think your life work comes from the passion. I'm going to use this more as a passion plus opportunity equals your future. I think that I'm going to give you all credit for that one. But a big thank you. Thank you for watching. This is Christian, my director. Let me put you in the green room for a second. Don't go anywhere, because I want to say goodbye to you guys before we go. Let me close out the show. But David and Richard, thank you so much for your story. I really have enjoyed listening to you. For those of you watching, please go check them out. So I'm going to put you in the green room for a second, but don't go anywhere.
Thanks for having us on, Daniel. Appreciate it.
For those of you watching, remember that on our shows, we've got, on Mondays, we've got the Grab and Goat show. So check us out for card readings, intuitive messages, and a little bit of the alignment. On Wednesdays, check out the Christian and Daniel show. And then stick with us on Saturdays at 10 a.m. for other interviews. Put it together. What's your story? How do you put it together? For now, I want to thank David and Richard from Dos Gabachos Mezcal. I really like that name. I like the way it sounds too. It brings out the Mexican in me. Dos Gabachos. Check them out. I really like these guys. I think the way they're elevating mezcal in the States, or at least in California for now, it's really awesome. So go check them out. I'm going to see how else we can collaborate with them here at Little Mexican Restaurants. But for now, I want to thank you for watching. Remember, if you're watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn, please share on your page so that other folks can watch. If you're watching on YouTube, scroll down, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you're watching us on Instagram, thank you for watching, and we'll see you folks next time. For now, this is Daniel J. Garza saying, hey, put it together. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.